I want to finish with a quick story that I think kind of encapsulates some of these goals that we have for our icebreaker activities and shows how we can actually adopt these every day that we are in our classroom and every lesson. A few years ago, I got to be in a literacy class for refugees near Seattle, Washington. And in that class, I got to sit down at a table with a woman named Sheti. And Sheti was from Nepal. She had just resettled in the US about a week before I met her in that class. And we sat down and we got to do some of these kinds of activities. And Sheti didn't have very much English. She could only say a few words. She was illiterate in her first language, which meant that she couldn't even write her own name in her own language. And so after we got to do some basic practice with numbers, counting 1 through 20 and using flashcards, I got to sit with her and help her write her name in English. And then after that, we got to do an interview. And I had a few questions I would ask her, and she would practice answering. And she would do this every day that week. And so we asked her some of these questions, like, what is your name, where are you from, and how many people are in your family? And with a little bit of help, she was able to tell me, my name's Sheti, I'm from Nepal. But when she got to her family, she didn't have the kind of language that she really needed in order to describe her whole family. She didn't know son and daughter and boy and girl and husband and wife. She didn't know those words yet. So what we did is I just took a piece of paper and I drew a picture of my family, simple little stick figures, me and my wife and my kids. And I could say, I have 4 children. I have 3 boys and 1 girl. How many children do you have, Sheti? And she was able to draw a picture of her family and show me her children, and that she had 6 of them. And we got to figure out that my children, my boys, like to ride bicycles, that her boys ride skateboards. But when we got to her husband, I asked her, are you married? And I pointed to my ring finger and I pointed to my wife on the piece of paper and I asked her, you, Sheti, are you married? Do you have a husband? And she answered, no, I don't know. She didn't have the kind of language that is required to be able to explain space and time. She couldn't say that, well, I was married in Nepal, but now I'm here now, and he's not with me, he's there, and I don't know if I'm still married. I don't know if that is the correct term. I don't know. And somewhere there in our communication breakdown, it became very apparent to me a few things. One is the need that we both had to learn each other's languages, to be able to speak and communicate, that she needed to know more English and I needed to know more of her language. It made clear to me her need for language. It also showed me just the complexity of her story, of her situation, of being alone with 6 children in a country. She's only been there a week. She's just learning how to write her name, and a husband who's half a world away and she doesn't know anything about him, or is he even technically her husband? What is the correct word for this situation? So as you can imagine, this was a very powerful, even heavy moment in the middle of this English lesson, in the middle of this little literacy language classroom in Washington. There in that moment, we were able to relax. We were able to have fun. Okay, we weren't running around doing a high energy kind of game, but we were able to laugh a little. We were able to be fully engaged and alive in that moment. She was able to feel safe, but most importantly, she was able to be known. Her children were drawn in pictures. Her name was written in ink on paper, and her husband's name was spoken aloud. In that moment, in that classroom, he wasn't gone or forgotten, but he's very much alive and present as any of the rest of us. These are not just language activities, and this is not just a language classroom. This was something more. And I encourage you to look for opportunities to do more with your activities.